you have this ability to bring that in music and share it with the world. And then I would like to know, like, what is your earliest memory of music as a child? And when did you know that you had this music talent?
I mean, I think music was always in my household. I don't have a specific memory. I can actually remember back to when I was very young. I have one of those weird dyslexic memories of, I can remember things from when I was 2 or 3 years old. But I remember, my parents were not musical, but they were avid music listeners. Neither of them had had the opportunity to study an instrument. Um, but I remember for my about probably sixth or seventh birthday, I had an older cousin who was super cool, and he gave me a double album of the greats of jazz, and that was my very first record that I owned, and I was extremely proud of it and precious about it, and I really cherished it. And it actually began my love not only of jazz, but because jazz is a highly complex music, it allowed me a window into, I think, fairly evolved forms of music, even at a young age. So throughout my life since then, I've listened intensely to jazz and, music from all over the world, Latin America in particular, and Africa. I ran an African drumming society for a while, and classical music, which has always been a big, big part of my life. So I studied piano, and while I loved playing piano, I started when I was 6. Being, as I later found out in life, being dyslexic meant that I always struggled with music notation and reading. So I only ever used my ear. So the teacher would play something, and I would be able to copy him because I'd heard it. But he didn't like that. I mean, he wanted me to be able to play it from the page. So that was it was frustrating. Yeah. It was kind of always a cumbersome experience. And so in the end, I really didn't like my piano lessons anymore. And I felt at the time I didn't have any talent because that's basically what my piano teacher was kind of telling me, is that I'm doing it the wrong way. And I still joke to this day that the reason I became a music composer is that I can't read anyone else's music. So if I'm gonna, I just have, if I'm going to play, I have to play my own stuff. But then a very short time after I started piano, I was encouraged to pick up an orchestral instrument so I could have that experience in an orchestra. And I chose to play percussion. And there, my teachers really pushed me up and made me feel great about playing. And they told me, you have, for your age and height, you have a lot of talent. And they would make me play the cymbals, and I couldn't even lift them. They were so heavy. So they would pick them up and put them in my hands. And then I would just do my thing, count the bars and do it again. So, I mean, I would argue even to this day whether I have any particular talent, but I've definitely worked hard at it. I think if I do have a talent, it's probably more in the rhythmic area. I think I can confidently say, I'm a good professional bongo player and a pretty good drummer. I can hold my own on the piano and guitar. I can get done what I need to do, but ultimately the real talent one needs as a composer is in writing. And I think the primary thing, and we'll talk about this, but the primary thing that we need as a composer to be able to write is taste. As any artist, it's
Yeah.
taste. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you one thing. I'll tell you you have a talent. Why? Because I
Thank you.
wish I could master an instrument, and I did try it as a child. I tried the flute, and then I always loved the piano, and even got my mom to buy one. But soon I realized I really didn't have that talent. I will be like you. I have some kind of dyslexia, but it wasn't challenging of reading it. It's just that I couldn't just read notes and get it out of music. I could only play what I recognized. And
Yes.
after that, I've kept joking with my friends, and I would say that I could cut off my left hand if I was given the chance to sing like a Celine Dion. You, on the other hand, what I listen to it and the talent I hear, you're born with the soul of music. And going them back to, when did you produce your first song, and what is all like normally the inspiration behind your music?
Well, firstly, I would take issue with what you said. I think if you stuck with it,
You
Because what it
think?
sounds like is you had the right passion, and that's your driving force. If you
Yeah.
enjoy it, that's really all you need. And but whether or not you have talent, I guess when you're starting out is irrelevant because you still have to go through the process of converting something that's visual or audible into a hand-eye response. And that is a complex process that takes time and immense practice. And I think the only way you can do that really is if you're passionate about it and you really enjoy it. So, with my piano teacher, while eventually I kind of stopped doing piano lessons, I carried on playing piano for myself every day and working things out, figuring things out, putting on a record and then working it out. My brother bought me a book there's a David Bowie songbook, and I was really into David Bowie at the time, and so I just learned tunes from there, and then I ended up as kind of the kid that would play the piano, and we'd all stand around and sing and stuff like that. So I played really all throughout my life. I think I only started writing music when I was around 18. Left home. I was actually at medical school at that point, and we had this super cool new Apple computer and a sampling system, and it was very kind of nerdy. And I am a very nerdy composer. I like the technological aspect of it very much, rather than pencil and paper and all of that. I'm all about, what can we do with the electronic aspect of it to make it flow, to make it easier, and to take it into newer places. But still, it was just kind of like a hobby. And I started in earnest really in my mid-20s. I was working then for the United Nations. And one of my jobs, I was a desk officer for technological disasters, Chernobyl and things like that. And one of my jobs was to create little advocacy PSAs or short documentaries. And typically the UN would use library music. So I asked if I could write the music, and they said, knock yourself out. We don't have any budget, but if it's your show, if you want to write the music, So I did. And that's where I discovered kind of my love of writing for picture more than being on stage, more than writing songs. I realized this is something I was better at, particularly documentary. And it gave me the latitude to bring in my love of world music and all the instruments, that I was learning to play. And it was also an opening back into the incredibly diverse emotional palette that the orchestra brings. And so that's where it kind of began. And it wasn't too long after that I quit my job at the UN and kind of not knowing what I wanted to do, just kind of went into music because it's the only other thing I knew how to do. It was never planned. I never planned to be a composer.